Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Popcorn Watchlist podcast, where we discuss and celebrate some of our favorites in TV and film. I am your host, Xavier, and I'm joined by my fellow Popcorn Watchlist panelists to kind of go over, I guess, the kind of like trilogy now of Tron. That's kind of wild to say that. We've got a Tron trilogy going on, but we're
Tronology.
finally the Tronology. Good job. It's the Tronology. To cap up the rest of the Tronology right now, we're going to be talking about Tron Ares. And it's been I guess we've heard our last episode with Tron Legacy that there's been a niche sort of like want for more of this stuff. Maybe not like a massive like outcry, but there's definitely certainly a cool factor. So it remains to be seen how the cool factor can be brought into 2025. But it's been basically we waited 15 years from Tron Legacy to Tron Ares. But I was thinking about the math right now, and I think from the original to Tron Legacy was like what 28 years. If you think about it, if Legacy came out in 2010 and the original was in 82.
Was it?
Yeah,
Yeah, 20?
it's a long
Yeah,
time.
20 years, yeah.
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah, so you think about it as like, wow, 28 years. Here's hoping there isn't another 15 to 20 years for the next one, but that remains to be seen, as you'll find out later on. But what was fun about this movie is that I got to see it the first time like in Dolby, and then I know Danny and Anthony, their first experience in this movie was in 4DX, which is certainly a choice,
3D.
And 3D, yeah.
Not just 4DX, it's 4DX 3D, so a total of 7D.
A lot of Ds.
That's definitely how the math adds up, right? Yeah, that's
7D.
7D, or is it in 7D millimeter? No.
Well, technically then, it's 4DX 3D, so that's 12D.
Because you're multiplying.
It only depends. It depends on how you've written
You
it.
have to solve for D. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Solve for D. Solve it for both Ds, and also X is in there too.
Yeah.
But
But
that's
no,
the
X is
multiplication.
here. X is speaking right now. That's where X is.
He's gonna give it to you.
What? But yeah, guys. So we're gonna dive right into Tron Ares. So if you're interested about the movie, there are gonna be some spoilers. So keep that in mind. But diving right into this, the movie really has been sort of in some form of development for these past 15 years. At first, it was meant to be another sequel from the characters of Tron Legacy, but then some other stuff came through. Also, Joseph Kosinski wanted to be highly involved, but he got tied up with his other big movies that he's now known for. After in the span of 10 years since he started really getting more and more work. But then we have, on top of that, somewhere down the line, like Jared Leto just got, I guess, is really into Tron. Like he really liked it so much that he just tried to find his way in some way, shape, or form, just attached to the franchise. And so I guess after other development issues, obviously COVID and lockdown got in the way. We finally got more and more of this movie getting developed, and there are a lot of questions, like what kind of story are they going to continue after so much time has passed? Who's going to do the music? Daft Punk is completely and famously now retired as a duo. And what's the tone of the movie going to be like? Is Tron even still cool? Like, do people even care about it? But there are a lot of these things going on there. So with that, the movie ends up, it's still being made. I think it's, Disney put in a lot more money than I actually thought they would do. As you can probably tell by a lot of the effects. Like the movie looks really sharp, but after a whole lot of extra time, other pieces of development, other stuff going through, we finally end up getting this movie again, now starring Jared Leto, but you also have Greta Lee, Jeff Bridges in a small role, Um, Evan Peters, Gillian Anderson, Jodie Turner Smith. Surprisingly, I forgot Hassan Minaj is in this movie, so I was like, yeah, good for him. Arturo Castro, who's has a couple small little bit parts here and there, but he's good in doses. But like, I guess it all depends on like direction. And then you have in a very 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 small role, Cameron Monaghan, and I know I'm missing some other people, but those are kind of like the main names that kind of came up in the movie. And it's directed by Joaquin Ronig. If I remember, I don't know if you guys also remember any other movies he directed. Did he direct Pirates 5?
It
I
was
think.
5 or 6.
Yes, it was.
I don't
5.
remember which one.
Are there 6 Pirates movies? Holy crap. I wish.
Are there?
No, I think there's just 5.
There's only
and
5.
He did the
Oh,
5.
so 5 is the most
Yeah.
recent one. Okay.
He did the 5th one. And then looking up here, he actually also did Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, which I did not watch.
And then he also
That's
did
the first one because there was 2 Maleficents, right?
I believe it's the second one. Mistress
Yeah,
of
he
Evil, I
did the
think, is the
second one.
second one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he did that Disney movie, Young Woman in the Sea, with Daisy Ridley.
He actually directed
Where-
that?
Yeah.
Ooh, look at that.
Oh, nice.
Okay. I have to get around to watching that because that one also looks very interesting. It's about, woman who ended up, I think it was she has to swim the English Channel, I think. So
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. That's one of those feel good Disney sport movies. But yeah, kind of going right into it. I think at first, we finally were getting a trailer and it's like, oh man, this movie, a lot of red, a lot of stuff going on. But then like the big buzz was at the end of the movie. It was just like, Tron Ares featuring music by Nine Inch Nails. And everything clicked for me. At least personally, I was like, okay, like this is gonna make sense now. This is I get what I dig it. Or I'm hoping I also dig it. So so kind of really going into it, we get another just going right into the movie. We get that little extra like mini montage from the beginning of just like, hey, here's some other stuff going on. So here's some story exposition to kind of get you in here, which it's serviceable, kind of does the job. It's another TV, kind of like what happened in Tron Legacy, and then gives you some of the story beats. That's why Sam Flynn's no longer there. Then you have
Yeah, I didn't like that part.
Didn't like it, like as opposed to nothing. Like, what would you have preferred? Like, hi
No,
guys, I have to go away.
No, it's just I don't know. Yeah, just hey, let's just say things through reports, and then also like that's how you know that Sam's like not in the movie. You're like, but why? And they barely explain that either.
Yeah, vague for personal reasons.
Yeah.
Also, 'cause I remember in Tron Legacy they had some of that. They had some of that too. But after like the little like that was like after, Kevin left the house, and then it was the whole like, here's all the stuff that's going on. He disappeared, and all of this stuff. So, there's all that. But then you have the idea of like, Dillinger has their own has their own company that they're working on with like military stuff, and the Kim sisters, Eve Kim, and I forgot the name of her other sister. Is it Erin? No, I don't think so. But anyway, like you had those sisters kind of going through their own levels of technology and trying to go through the more like what's this stuff called, like benevolence of technology, and then that kind of caught us up to speed, and that's kind of where we're at. And then we get immediately Julian Dillinger, played by Evan Peters, writing up his program Ares, and then we get the little like, here's how this AI is gonna learn stuff. It just gets its ass beat for like 5 minutes in a cool montage, which is
that was
dope.
cool.
Yeah, and then that's when we start hearing the music. We're like, oh, okay, like this is pretty cool. Yeah, and then it's Jared Leto just learning to be a kick-ass program. He's sort of like, to me, Ares was like the anti-Tron. It's sort of like, instead of like, I'm not gonna, he's not fighting for the user. He's sort of fighting for himself, but then also he's always like constantly learning. So Tron was never really an AI. It was just more just like, hey, here's the program that I'm down with, or that what I'm programmed to do. So, but it was kind of like Dillinger Systems' own uh guy. And so basically, yeah, kind of like big summary is that Julian Dillinger's in competition with Encom still, and they're still making games, but they're also trying to crack like some other technology to help the world and steer it in some other, new direction. But they're looking for the MacGuffin of the movie, which is this like extra permanence code, so that things that get brought in from the digital landscape can actually be sustained in real life, as opposed to just like breaking down after 29 minutes. We got that in the whole like hangar like tech demo for the Dillinger Systems and their board members, which is really cool. Um, you got to see a little bit more of like Ares himself developing some sort of like curiosity and personality. But we also see how like Julian Dillinger's kind of like riding the line, wanting to do a little bit of everything, and kind of bend break the rules a little bit. And from there, it's this whole idea of trying to get this permanence code, at the same time, like it will Ares kind of continue and try to get it just for the sake of getting it, or does he want to go for him, just get ideas for himself? So a couple little ideas out there that kind of go through the movie and this whole like chase to break the digital landscape or whatever. Make some more bio digital jazz. As which I just wanted to say that because that was a funny line. But yeah, from there, that's where we kind of get our action set pieces, um, our cool visuals. Like everything's kind of modernized, so it was cool to see like a different, like you see a different take on the Tron vehicles and the Tron suits, because like the Dillinger Systems is its own grid as opposed to like the Encom grid, or like the testing kind of grid that Kevin Flynn had in Legacy that was in like his little hideaway in the arcade. So it's cool that we see more established grids. So like they talk about like the grid, but now we're like, oh, there are different grids, which that seemed cool. It's like a more subtle way to expand the kind of like systems in the world and stuff. Um, and
Because
then
that was
here's
the
yeah.
part. That was the part that I was kind of originally confused by, because I guess like they were making some hints throughout like the earlier parts of the movie, or like somewhere in the middle, where I thought it was all just in the same grid. But I think you explained after the movie, or I don't know if it was maybe during the movie, that it was like a different grid, or like a new grid, that Ares was made inside of, I guess.
Yeah, it's in like the grid of that company's internal systems. So it's just like how Encom, and we saw that because when Julian, it's a great way to kind of like showcase what the hacking kind of looked like, at least in this world where Dillinger's trying to hack into Encom to get the Eve's whereabouts to get more info on the permanence code. He sends Ares to hack into Encom's grid, and then you see like, oh, this is Encom's bright blue and sunny grid, and then you have the Ares team kind of breaking into
Yeah, it's one of
into
the
their
cooler
main
scenes of the movie.
yeah. Got some cool fight scenes in there. The hacking it was cool too, because then like Ares like, oh, this is a real life person. So it's like kind of like a interesting like connections to like users. So it's almost like a level of curiosity. Just basic themes that are thrown in there. Nothing super highbrow or like, that not thinking too deep about it. But it's still pretty cool. And then like the whole like way he like broke down the systems seemed like, or by he I mean Dillinger, that he sent that like sort of deletion package that just like shut down their systems. That was kind of wild. I was like, damn, it's a like almost like a nuke blowing everything up. But that also is where we saw like the new batons, how like the batons had their own like light bars that kind of came out of them. That was
Oh
pretty
yeah, like
cool.
those. Was it? I guess not a spear, but something. Yeah, like something that they like
Like staffs.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
stabs.
Okay.
With,
Yeah.
like, the
That's
blowy bits at
the
the end.
word.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the stabs are pretty cool. I think that was a cool addition to having like these, to having like variety in some of these weapons, especially like the light weapons. Uh, uh, I like the way that they looked, when they activate the light and they're spinning them around or whatever, and they're trying to take out uh, areas at the beginning, or in that one scene, was pretty cool.
Yeah. I also thought was pretty cool was his. Okay, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, with the light trail kind of following it in 3D, actually gave it a cool look for sure.
Yeah, I'll say as a whole, like the 3D was like really. It's what I don't know how to describe. I always am terrible at describing this, but like I describe it as like tasteful 3D. It's not like the gotcha 3D or like look at this, it's getting thrown right at your face. Like it just
Like
felt
Shark Boy and
more
Lava Girl,
exactly.
or Spy Kids
Spy Kids
3D.
3D.
What do you have
Yeah.
against Robert Rodriguez, man?
But
Damn, yeah, both of those were him.
yes, they
Damn.
were. But hey, they threw it out. He threw it out there, so why not? But yeah, no, like overall, like we got a lot of those sequences, like especially in 3D, like when Julian's connecting into his system and like speaking to Ares, you have that the whole like the freaky face with the freaky voice that like in 3D is like, oh okay, like this is freaky. Like it wasn't like again in your face, it was just layered with the rest of the scene, so it looked good. But I will say that like switching topics a bit, but like going into watching it in Dolby was I think better to check out in 3D than in 4DX 3D because there's a lot more movement than I thought there was gonna be. Like
Yeah,
that's
the
just
40X was kind of rough. It wasn't. I think
twisters.
I think Twisters overall was rougher, but when there was a big action scene in this movie, it was like it was excessive. It was excessive rocking and excessive back pokes. Like I think we got poked in the back in this one more than any other movie that I've been in 40X.
This one definitely had like a little bit of everything, but definitely a lot of pokes in the back. But
Yeah,
it did
a
have
lot.
like the water spraying, like the smoke ish and not smoke, mist. Definitely had some mist and a lot of movement, especially towards the end, like in
But
that
yeah,
big
Yeah,
final
towards
action
the end was a
sequence.
lot more than I expected. I expected there being like some movement, and like there was to me at least. It was like slightly more tasteful with the light cycle chase. So where where Dillinger comes up with the plan to use Ares and Athena to uh basically kidnap Eve Kim and get the information from her. And they're kind of and they go through the city like one that the a lot of that shot was done really well, and it's cool to see like a real life light cycle like going through the city. But the like that kind of movement in the chair was pretty cool, but it wasn't as crazy as I like the final like the like the final tank like takedown. That was
Yeah.
like nuts. I was like, am I just like were we supposed to be in the in Eve's situation where she was like, handcuffed, and when the tank breaks down, like she's just rocking all over the place in the tank? Like I remember like at that happening, I was just like, why? Like a little just me thinking, why? That's just a lot going on.
yeah,
But
because
why?
it was like rolling a bunch, and just for every single roll, it was just nonstop back and forth with the chairs. Like we were on a
It
really
was
unsafe
excessive.
roller coaster. Yeah,
It was excessive.
yeah,
Like
Yeah, I
we were
still had
falling
fun with it,
off.
but I was
yeah.
just like, this is. I wasn't falling off. I was just like, this is a lot, guys. Like, this
Yeah.
is
By the
just a
end
lot.
of that scene, we all looked at each other like, "Wow, like, what was that?"
Yeah. Somebody thought, hey, they're gonna make it. They're gonna go out there and just make this out. If the tuner's like, you know what, I'm just dial this up a little bit, see what happens. But no, that was
But
pretty cool.
Yeah, it was funny because it was so not only was it excessive in the rocking back and forth, but it was also excessive in the back pokes in that one scene. So it's just like constant back pokes with going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and yeah, it
Papa.
There
was
was also
it was
uh,
fun and like awkward at the same time.
Yeah.
talking about the back pokes. There was one scene where um I think it was Ares and Athena, and they like shoulder bump, and that shoulder bump was a
A
back
back
poke.
poke.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They that's when he bumped her in order to get the the jet ski that he got from that when they got in the water. Yeah, I remember that. Like, because having seen the movie already and like getting the poke there, I was like, okay. Like, I thought, okay, that's a choice. It's a fun choice. But kind of like we kind of dotted back and forth on some of these fun moments. But you know, what were some other than a lot of the 40x effects? Like, what were some of the things that stood out to you guys? I'll let anyone go. Kind of like take it from here. Like, what were some standout moments that you thought were cool?
I'm just gonna say overall, um, the visuals, just like um, the visuals are probably the at least to me the best part of the movie. Like you can say what you want about the acting, the story, and whatever, but I think anybody who watches this movie, even if they didn't like the majority of it, I think they can say that, but it looked really nice. So the effects were really good, and the movie itself was also shot well. So yeah, I'll give it to them that the CGI and even the non CGI that maybe looked like it was CGI or could have been practical, like I think it was done very well. Those bikes
Yeah,
look really cool.
yeah, that's one of the things that because you know how there's been a lot of complaints about how CGI seems to be uh devolving, or it has been devolving over the years with I would say it's more to do with companies like rushing to finish these movies that are super like CGI heavy, like whether it's uh Marvel or DC or something, or some other big franchise. um I feel like with this one, with Tron Ares, it didn't feel like the CGI looked rough at all. I would say it's very um on par, if not better than what Tron Legacy looked. Because the CGI
It
even back
it's
then, 15
better.
years ago, it looked great.
No, it's definitely better.
Definitely better.
It looks like, at least to me, it looked like an upgraded version of what we got 15 years ago, and yeah, like if you like, we recently rewatched the second one, and like rewatching it and even seeing it in 4K, it looked very nice. But you can tell, not watching it now with fresher eyes, you'll be like, yeah, that looks a little too CG, but it still looks cool.
I
Whereas
think
in
the rough
this
parts.
movie,
Huh?
I didn't see any of that. Like nothing to me in this movie looked so fake that I was like, oh, that's like so heavily CG that it just looks strange. Like everything just looked good, almost looked realistic. Like to me, everything looked pretty realistic, and that just means they did a very good job on the CGI and whatever lighting effects that they had to do to make everything look like it was somewhat realistic, especially when they went into the real world.
What I will
Because
say also about okay, go ahead, Zach.
well, I was going to say that some of the or a couple of the rough parts from Legacy that I noticed when watching the movie a couple times before we discussed it was a couple of the a few shots from the light cycle scene towards the beginning. Like there were a couple shots there where like the CGI just wasn't that good, or like maybe like the physics of the animation of the CGI didn't look that good. And then a few stuff thrown out there throughout the rest of the movie. But I agree with what Anthony was saying about that, and then of course this one being a lot better. I think with the cinematography, it helps to hide whatever could have been rough, where you don't notice it. But even with like in your face CGI, it still looked really great.
Yeah, even the CGI for when they go into like the OG grid system that was in the like
Yeah.
museum and MCOM, like that looked really good. Like even the lighting, like when they like the replication of like the old like rotoscoping for when a lot of the characters within the original NCOM grid were like they had that like pale grayish looking like filter over their face. Like you even saw it on Ares. I was like, man, that
Mhm.
looks really cool. Obviously we
And
could
then the
talk about
little
like
like
sound.
the light cycle, like in that
Yeah,
old
like
school.
the retro, yeah, like the retro
Mhm.
light cycle, the retro sound effects. Like even the music like took a like a spin to like evoke a lot of the old Wendy Carlos stuff from the original. Um, that was like a standout moment for me. I was like, okay, that's really freaking cool. Like, good job for them for trying to do all of that and kind of get that in. It was cool. And then by that
Yeah.
time, like you have like Ares established as like a this like I love the '80s kind of kid, even though he's like I don't know how old he is, but technically, but he's just there like
Depeche Mode.
he's like I just like the '80s, and I'm just here like from a personal standpoint, trying to get taking objectivity out of it. I was like, yeah, buddy, I can relate to that. Like, good for you. So he's just like the one scene where he's driving the Honda Civic through the traffic, and like he's talking about Eve Kim's like kind of a lot of the history is like all this stuff that info that he kind of like figured out, where she's just accusing him of cyber stalking, and then he just kind of goes, and I just can't get enough. Like, what the heck? And then the song starts playing. You're like, oh, okay, that was cute. Like,
The info dump scene.
yeah, that was just like you have all this stuff here, but here, blah 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 blah. So, hey, but here's some Depeche Mode to chill out with that. But
The way I understood it
yep.
is I guess it's probably part of his programming because essentially, like we were saying earlier, since what we're seeing in this movie is like the Dillinger company's version of what the other grid was, and throughout the other two movies, it's they've been showing that this family or the people running this company has been essentially trying to copy Flynn. So it's like they created their own copy of what Flynn's grid and Flynn's, I guess, either Tron or any other programs that he's created, like Clue. And so Ares is kind of like just like a copied version of that. So that's at least to me why he probably likes 80s stuff because it's a copy of like the old 80s technology, but just like more modern.
That's a cool connection I didn't think of. I like that. That's a good take on it. I'm wondering if that's
It
ever
makes
like the
it
actual
just
thing
would
or
make
not. But
more.
it makes sense.
That's how it makes sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it makes sense if you're, especially like how like Dillinger had their own versions of recognizers, their own light cycles, like the even like the programs like outfits and uniforms, because obviously they're trying to build this out to be hopefully sell this for for defense is what that's the whole idea, like for military defense and everything. The the whole shtick of it was just looks really freaking cool. Like we talk about the visuals again, and just like that stuff, it looked really sharp. And like I was concerned that like like storyline wise, maybe we're getting more real world stuff than what we're kind of sort of used to. But to Anthony's point, like that stuff still looked good in the real world. Like I remember seeing in the trailer, I was like, how the heck is this gonna work? Like if they're shooting missiles, this is dumb. And then they talk about, oh, those are drones. All right, that's better. Like that made more sense to me instead of just like, oh, I'm just a recognizer. And then also they're handicapped by the 29 minutes. So it's not just like a recognizer in the real world and that's it, like game over. Because like you saw the Jets, like they barely had, they never stood a chance against all the light bar stuff, especially with the other, like I guess Dillinger system soldiers when they had their flight suits. They're like their I don't know what to call them. Their flight packs, just that
Like
Centurion style.
paragliders, or I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, those guys are busted. I was like, you can't. Like, how do you fight that? I don't think you can. So you got to wait out the
The
29 minutes.
the
Yeah.
whole jet sequence was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole jet sequence is cool. Like that delivered. That part was cool.
I also like
Yep.
the whole like process of kind of like a huge 3D printer, but the way that they designed that to show how they like bring them into the real world. That was a cool sequence. You just wait a couple seconds to see them like sketch out.
Yeah, I think realistically that kind of makes sense of like how where this goes next. You know what I mean? And then, like I guess logically, like if they're talking about there's all this untapped potential within these grids and computer systems, and you can create and program something that could then be that's sort of like created within a digital system, and like, all right, cool. How do we take that stuff that's programmed and then like use it and put it into the real world? So that's interesting because then that solves a lot of things, and it kind of like very like gently brings in the concept of what they were Flynn was trying to do in Tron Legacy, especially of just like was the like the idea of like the permanence code, and if you want to get real nerdy with it, like if that's the legacy of the ISOs, and that's what maybe he was trying to get into or start with before Clues did his whole ISO purge and everything like that. But it's cool to see that these that they're still like, hey, let's go with that.
That's one of
I don't
the
know if I could have
issues.
thought of anything else. I don't know if I could think of anything else of like where they would have gone after it if they're gonna try to like be something different without like being completely totally different.
Yeah, I think that's one of the issues I had with the movie was just like the overall story. I'm like, it just seemed like they abandoned what happened at the end of the movie, not 100%, but at the end of Legacy, they have Sam Flynn bring over an ISO, and so it seems like by the logic of this movie, that she would die in 29 minutes, and if she doesn't, then that means she's special, kind of like what Jeff Bridges was saying that whole movie, that she's like something different. So I just don't understand why they just didn't continue that story. It seems like maybe they might continue it if there's another one. I just don't even know if there's going to be another one. So it just seems odd to me that you would wait a whole nother movie to maybe explain what's going on with the characters from Legacy. And so, yeah, that was one thing I'm like, because the permanent, like you said, the permanence code is kind of like, it's kind of like you're saying, this is like the digital code of what is probably inside the ISOs, but they didn't say that in the movie. They just made it sound like it's another thing to help whatever programs that are in the grid or anything from the grid be in the real world without being deleted after a certain amount of time. So yeah, throughout the movie, I was just like confused. I'm like, why did they go this route? It just seemed like they had to like make a big leap, like hop over a lot of things to kind of make it seem like they're gonna go back to what they already had. It's like, oh, why didn't you just do that from the beginning? So yeah, some of the story beats I was not a fan of.
I get that. Yeah, I think it could be a case of like we want to like let's try to maybe separate ourselves a little bit from it or not like get too far. Maybe from like the logistics standpoint of like, are we gonna bring in all these other people back from the second movie? Because realistically, the only person they brought back was Jeff Bridges. Um,
And
but
and in reality, they didn't need to, but they did, I guess, because of he's the main character of the other two movies. So, but like
It
it
was
was
just
like
like a small cameo.
it was a cameo because he was just like a
I mean, not technically a cameo, but yeah,
like a
yeah, it's a
leftover
small part.
program,
Yeah,
a leftover program of like himself and
Like a
his
yeah.
backup.
consciousness. Yeah, like a backup. So it's like it wasn't really him because of what happened at the end of Legacy. Um, so yeah, I mean they needed a reason to bring him back and do some cool nostalgia nostalgia stuff in this movie, and that scene was pretty cool. And yeah, I liked the effects they did there. It was fun to see that. Um, yeah,
I'd like to point out
a lot
also
of the
Ares did the Tron pose.
yeah,
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 I was like
that was cool.
I was like at least someone did the Tron pose because if you didn't have that, then hey, we'd
That's not
have
a Tron movie.
issues. Basically, it's not a Tron movie.
Well, so I guess the one thing that I feel like they missed an opportunity on in that segment when he goes into the older system is Ares still looks like Ares. Like he has the same suit and everything. I thought maybe by him going in there, he would get more of like a suit that looked like the suits that they were wearing in the first movie. So like everything else looked old except for him, like just walking around. I was like, okay, I guess they just wanted to keep the same look. But other than that, yeah, it was a cool section of the movie.
No doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of wish we got more Jeff Bridges, but yeah.
Yep.
You want more of the grid dude, not just the dude. He's the grid dude.
Yeah, I want more of the grid dude.
Yeah, come on,
Duderino.
grid dude. Let me do stuff. But yeah, I guess we talked about a lot of like big sequences, and I think talking about how like how Ares has more time in the real world, and then the whole idea of like the like of his interaction with Eve Kim is more as like, oh, like there's more of like his own curiosity of humanity, and then he couldn't explain it to Athena, and then Athena's kind of like, I don't get this, but I just have my directive. Anyway, that's a side note. The point is, I think a lot of the different scenes and different stuff that goes through, we have to talk about the Nine Inch Nails score. Like it's not a Trent Reznor Atticus Ross score; it's a Nine Inch Nails score. So that's like the first time they get billed for this. And I want to hear what you guys think.
I mean, I think that was the thing that throughout the movie, it was very hard to ignore, and that's not a bad thing, of course. I mean, especially when X, you and I, we watched it in Dolby, and the sound is so much better in a Dolby theater. So the music was in some scenes very loud, so you couldn't miss it. But then in parts where the music felt more like just background noise, background, to either for suspense or whatever it might be. The music was still really great. Like it's definitely a way different than what we got with Daft Punk. They're more like this electronica type electronic EDM kind of music, whereas this is more I mean I don't know Nine Inch Nails like that, but it's like this I don't know what genre you would call it, but
It's like industrial alternative with some electronic stuff in there.
okay.
If you
Yeah,
never
that
know, just call it alternative and you're fine.
pretty much no.
Alternative electronic rock.
Because again, like it's funny because I want to say they were influenced by bands like Depeche Mode and stuff. So like you'll have some of this like electronic stuff to it, but also this kind of like driving. When I always use the term industrial, it's kind of like it seems like mechanical, definitely a set rhythm, but they did a lot of mix. They did more variety in the movie than I thought they would do. Like there's some tracks that like the tracks right before the piece of music right before he gets sent back into the real world with his permanence code built in from Flynn. Like that's like some of the more like one of the two, three or four like softer songs. But then you have then something else like the song when they're breaking into Encom, like the infiltration song, and that's like very typical like this driving beat to and like the kind of like the tones and rhythm to the song. It's like this like real like kind of uh like not stripped down, but like a stripped down version of like the main like song of the movie, which is the as alive as he need me to be. Yeah. And but like that kind of main theme crept in throughout most of the movie, which I thought was cool. But then you also had some other songs, like gosh, what's the name of this one song? There was like it was like after the hacking part, they had that like kind of like sort of scary song. I think it was like 100% expendable. It was like, oh, that's scary. If not, then it's the track that's called Forked Reality. So if you ever hear that, like that's kind of like the oh man, like that's kind of like it's a little like ominous, but it keeps more of like a sort of like this electronicness to it all, which was interesting. Like I thought they would kind of like it felt like a grungier version of like some of their like other movie set scores. I don't know. Anthony has seen more of their movies. Like the only movie I've truly seen that they've scored is Soul, but I don't know. Anthony can kind of. I'd like to get Anthony's take on this. On like,
Social Network.
yeah, Social Network. Also, didn't you watch what was the one with Zendaya?
Challengers.
Challengers. Didn't they do Challengers also?
Yeah, they did Challengers, and I actually
Yeah.
just recently watched this movie After the Hunt with Julia Roberts, and they did that movie too, because it's the same director as Challengers.
Oh, no way.
So yeah,
That's yeah.
but it was much different than Challengers. So the the Challenger score was actually pretty well done. But yeah, I mean, now seeing a good amount of movies that they've scored, like obviously they're good. They're good at what they do. I just don't think that they're better than a lot of these other composers in other years, but I'm not going to bring it up. But
Yeah. But what we want to do is, do you think they fit the bill and the tone for the movie? Like for
so
this movie in particular?
I liked it in general. It wasn't bad. I mean, I have a soft spot for the Daft Punk soundtrack, so I don't think it was better than the Daft Punk one, but it would have been hard to be better than that anyway. So I think they did do a good job for this movie. Um, I did see this movie twice, and then the second time I saw it in Limax, where the sound was much better than it was when we were in 4DX, but it was also much louder. And so I kind of noticed even more that some scenes it was just like extra loud, and maybe it didn't need to be that loud. And I don't know, I felt like some of the sequences were it was more like I don't know how to place it. It's like it wasn't so much like I was hearing like a song or like background movie music. It was just like it was like them playing to the scene, but then making like extra loud noise on top of that for the scene. And it was I don't know, because some of the scenes that I also noticed that they toned down like the sound effects so you could hear the music more. So maybe it was intentional because they wanted you to hear the soundtrack or to hear the score. But no, I think
Was that the scene when they were on the uh the Tronified jet ski?
yeah, definitely the boat
Yes.
sequence and also the first chase scene in the real world when when both Ares and Athena were chasing Eve around the city like with the bikes.
Oh yeah, that was
There were moments
I
in
know that
that
one.
scene. There were moments in that scene where I mean there were moments where it was more subdued because it was also like a suspenseful scene. But then when it got closer, when they were all like very close to getting her and it gets more intense, but then it gets louder and then it's like everything else kind of gets lowered while the music gets louder. So I mean it works because those are the scenes that are probably the best scenes of the movie, at least to me. Like pretty much all the action scenes were the real standouts to me of this movie. And the music did help with those parts. But in other moments when it's just like characters talking to each other and there's just like background score, not that noticeable, and it's also not as loud because you need to hear the people talking. So but no, I mean, overall, I liked it, but no, it's not better than whatever Hans Zimmer did this year. So, but that's just me. That's just me.
uh, yeah, he means a certain movie that came out in the end of June of 2025. A certain Room Room movie. That's hilarious. Good job. No, Danny, any any last thoughts about the Nine Inch Nails score?
I think I'm in the same boat as Anthony in a bit. Like I liked it. I think I don't think anyone was gonna beat the score from Daft Punk in Legacy. Um I do have a couple songs added to my phone. Like obviously as alive as you need me to be. I think the first track is called In It.
Like
Um
initialize? Yeah, that's that.
yeah.
That song's awesome.
Oh, I thought
Yeah,
you were
you in it? Are
speaking
you
like
British?
from British, yeah,
Yeah, In It.
doing your British
It
speak.
could.
Um
It's
and a
you watch
couple other
Tron,
ones,
it.
but
Yeah, you
Uh,
probably have what Infiltrator on there too, because that song's really good.
yes. Yes.
Also,
I don't know
I
the names
think
of
if
the
you want to get
songs.
into like a study mode or really like lock in, if you listen to This Changes Everything, like that's the music when they're bringing in the orange tree into Alaska, when they're testing out
Mhm.
if the permanence code like works or not. Like that sequence is really cool. Or like, and it's done better because of the music. Like it's very like, hey, we're working on technology. Like it just felt very like driving techno kind of stuff. But that's another really good track.
And I think also, like that beginning sequence in the movie where they do like the title card, but also like kind of like not title card, but like they do some sequences in the beginning. The music went really well with that, like to set the tone. Um,
Yeah.
but I did enjoy it.
Speaking
Yeah,
back
like
to the beginning of the movie,
mhm.
bothered me a little also because we were talking about the whole like beginning where they were telling you some backstory through the news and whatever. But then the beginning of the movie started off the same as Legacy with the cool Disney like
Oh
light show,
yeah,
the laser light show,
with
but it was red
the
this time.
castle. Yeah.
It was gonna be cool, so of course they had to do it. Like I'm not gonna wrong them for that because that looks cool regardless. But then like the first 5 minutes of this movie, I was a little like, oh, because it seemed like they were just copying beat for beat of Legacy, almost beat for beat. Because then it starts with Eve Kim not on a motorcycle but on a snowmobile, driving through the snow with like the music playing in the background, trying to emulate the motorcycle sequence from Legacy. I was like, what are they doing here? They're just like copying this other stuff, but it's not. At least to me, it wasn't as cool as the part from Legacy.
Yeah,
And then
I didn't think I caught that, but yeah, I don't think and it was certainly like meant to be cool. It's more just like, oh wow, these people are out in snow or something, and someone's like stealing electricity to do something. Okay, interesting. But
no, I'm
yeah, I
pretty sure
didn't.
it was on
Yeah.
purpose. It seemed like they were trying to do like the cool scenes from the beginning of Legacy. Um,
Yeah, I don't know if I got that, but I mean,
rewatch it.
someone.
You'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I already seen it twice, but like, I guess I like it's one of those where like, yeah, like if it's remembering the piece of song of music that's in there, like I think it was more to me. It felt more melancholy because of I guess like you then realize like what Eve is there to do. It's not like oh I'm like this cool dude Sam Flynn who's gonna go and prank Encom every year,
Hmm.
and also get rid of the cops. So like it's like just a little more like steady like goody two shoes a little bit, but yeah at the same time like if you're gonna do that on purpose like I would think someone in a boardroom or like someone in a room is like, oh yeah, we could try to do, the you know, son of Flynn sequence, and everybody look at you and be like, please don't, like, just let's not do an overt mix to that. So like, I
Are you
didn't
sure though?
like,
It seems like
I'm
exactly
positive.
what they would say in a boardroom.
N-
Hey, let's use that sequence, but let's not do it on a motorcycle.
I don't know. Like, I
Snowmobile.
didn't see it. I didn't take it like that. Like, I didn't see it as like, oh, it's supposed to be a direct parallel to that. Like the only times I saw like maybe there were like direct parallels were like were some lines like somebody said greetings programs. Like there's a lot of little like smaller Easter eggs built
Yeah,
into the movie.
you have
Yeah.
to have end of line in there. I know they had
Oh,
that one
the end
too.
of line was great in this movie, by the way, where he's like where Julian Dillinger's talking to the CTO of Encom that's played by Hassan Minaj, and he's just like blah 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 blah, and then just yells at him end of line. I was like, damn, okay, good. It seemed very petty, which I kind of wanted out of that because I always feel like the end of lines are always petty in these movies.
Yeah, it was fun. Uh, we haven't talked about it yet, but what about how did you guys feel about the acting?
I don't think I've had any problems with acting, to
Jared
be
Leto
honest.
played to his strengths, according to some people I know. I love that they're like, you know what, like they played to his
I mean,
strengths.
he kind of did. The thing is,
Yeah.
I guess strengths that he has shown in like multiple movies, but we know that he has other strengths because he won an Oscar. So But yeah, recently it seems like he wants to play this kind of soft-spoken, monotone type character.
That's like
Um,
oozes cool, yeah, which
but
he tried to do
at,
with Morbius.
but at the very least, it works for this character because he's playing a program that's supposed to be like a serious program that starts to feel things, which is exactly what they said in the movie.
He was born for this role. No, I don't think he was. I don't think he was bad
Ground
at
for it.
all. I mean, I've seen so many comments on social media posts, people saying that oh, it's Jared Leto. Of course it's bad, or dude, it's his acting was. I mean,
It was
it
fine.
wasn't nothing
It
to write
was
home
fine.
about,
Yeah,
but it
the word
wasn't.
is serviceable. Like it did the job. Like it
Yeah,
did what it was supposed to do.
he was not the worst part of
Definitely
this
far from
movie.
bad. Yeah, definitely far from bad. But so what is the worst
I don't know.
then?
What do you think,
Oh.
Danny?
Oh.
I think what he's alluding to is the character Seth. He's just like, yeah, everything is Seth. But I think it's a lot of it's the line delivery, and I think also they did different takes and they like cut them into like random stuff. So like him in the beginning when they're doing their research into the permanence code, I was like, oh no, like this guy's better than this. But then like later on it was a little bit better. But like that whole sequence felt off to me because of like some of the line delivery and the idea with the breakfast burritos and all this stuff. I was like, hey, that like it's coming off too fast, and like
Right.
who thought
And I
this was a
think
good idea?
he said it like at least 3 times, maybe more.
Yeah, I was like,
It's just like,
this
how
must
many
have.
times is he going to mention burritos?
I think because that's why they must have cut that into like, it's a different. You know how like when you take certain dialogue and then like, okay, we're gonna take this dialogue, cut it into this sequence, and then put it back here, and then put it. I don't know, like it felt too like stitched together. That's why it felt. I think that's the only theory I can come up with is why it felt so like unnatural. Like because I was like a normal person would not have spoken like this that fast, even if they're like a little like antsy or frantic or cold because they're up in the cold parts of Alaska. I think there's like near Skagway, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I felt the same way, and that is particularly in that scene. I'm like, it feels like this guy's just saying the same thing multiple times, and 2 of the times it was exactly the same thing, and then the other 3 times it was like very similar jokes, and he just like every line delivery was like, I have to say a little joke here, a little joke here, a little joke here, and it was like, wow, like at the very least, at the by the end of the movie, I felt like his character got a little better, not as annoying. But yeah, that beginning part, that scene where they were doing in Alaska was pretty rough.
Yeah, I also kind of don't know what he actually does for Encom. I'll be brutally honest. Like I
Me
had seen the
neither.
movie twice. I was just like that was so that opening sequence is so distracting to me. And I'm just like, what the heck were you even? What are you about, dude? Um, but
He's
Yeah,
just
anyway,
there for
I didn't pick
emotional
up
support.
on anything.
it's like I don't know, it's like a trusted assistant to Eve Kim. Sure, why
Yeah,
not?
yeah,
Yeah.
because at one point when she called him, it was like she called him because she knew like he was the one that could help her out by bringing the laser. I'm like, so is this like the laser guy for your company? Like, that's just such a weird job. But I mean, I know he probably does more than that, but it's like,
The
yeah,
only
it
person
wasn't
you could
defined at all.
trust.
Yeah, it's like, oh well, he's gonna come here with the laser gun that we need, with everything that we need. Oh, and with my badge, so we can get into my office. Like, it's like okay, so yeah, I guess he's a
Plot convenience.
very glorified assistant slash plot
Very
convenience.
trusted assist. Yeah, very trusted assistant. But yeah. Um, we talk about acting and like having like good actors kind of like do their thing. Like, I hope. I guess not. I hope that was gonna. I was gonna say it was gonna sound way too cynical, but like I'm pretty sure Gillian Anderson just showed up. Like, all right, give you the makeup, put the stuff, and condescending mother, go. And but
Yeah, they didn't give her much to work with. It was like that's what they
it
wrote for
was
that
fine.
character. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
fine, but it was just like, all right, every time we go to you, say something bad about your son, or
be mad at your son.
yeah, be
Yeah,
mad at your son. I was like,
go go go.
and then after the seventh time, then you're gonna get stabbed. and then we're gonna get poked in the back.
If I'm
Yeah, we
getting
got
stabbed.
poked in the back when she got stabbed in the front.
I know that's hilarious.
That's why I'm happy I saw it the second time in 40X. If I saw it the first time in 40X, I would have just been very confused. Um, I guess
Yeah,
the one person who really understood the assignment has to be Evan Peters. Like
yeah,
that dude
he did a
went
good
in.
job.
Yeah, that dude totally went in. Good for him, dude.
Well,
Jodie Turner Smith is
she
good
did a good
too.
job too. Yeah,
Yeah.
she understood the assignment too. Hey, I'm a program that also ends up getting angry because I don't know what's going on with her. I guess at that point, superior Ares was like her superior, and so it was like the rest of the movie was her kind of like um
Living up
just
to her
being
her directive. Yeah.
yeah,
And at the
living up to her
same time,
directive and kind of like mad that he was not doing his job, and so it's like the whole movie is like her now chasing him, and it's like why I don't understand why you're doing this.
yeah, she's like, "What is
So
even your problem, dude?"
So
At
yeah,
the same
between
time,
between
yeah,
her
like,
and Ares, like they did what they needed to do for their characters. So yeah, I think they were good.
yep. Uh, let me think.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I don't think Greta Lee did good at all, and I like her as an actress. I've seen her in other stuff where she is good, and for some reason, I don't know what happened in this movie with both the writing and directing. A lot of her line delivery was pretty bad, and her acting was also not very good in a good amount of scenes, and that's has to do with the direction too. So it's like bad writing and bad directing, and your main character of the movie is just kind of like flat. This is like, man, I don't know why they're giving her these lines. Yeah, it was rough to me. I'm like, how is she doing this in this movie? It's like I've seen her act. Like she acts well in other shows.
Yeah, like
I've
the
only
the only
ever seen
It's
her in one
rough.
thing though.
To me, it was rough.
Go ahead, Zach.
No, I was just saying that I've only ever seen her in one thing, which is the morning show, and that's it. I don't think
Yeah,
I've
you
ever
gotta
seen
Well,
her
watch
in anything
and
Past
else.
she's
Lives.
in that show. She's better in that show.
Watch
Oh, yeah,
Past
there
Lives.
she's great.
She's really good in Past Lives.
Yeah, Past Lives, and she was great in that awesome episode of The Studio, the Oneer.
Oh my god, the Oneer. Oh, she was also in in Russian Doll. Yeah, she's really good in Russian Doll.
There you go.
She's
So yeah.
also
Yeah.
in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh yeah, who did she play?
The credits show her as interesting person number 2.
In both
That's for the
movies?
first one. No.
No,
No,
it's
in the
like
first one.
She's
And,
the voice of isn't she the voice
and
of
and then in the second one she's Lila.
yeah, she's Lila. That's why she's interesting person number 2.
Mhm.
Because um oh my gosh, Miguel O'Hara like goes into like the whole Spider-Verse thing, and that's her system. Yeah.
That's right.
Or
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
his system, yeah.
Yes.
Ah man.
But
But
yeah, so it was
yeah.
rough. I like just to watch. I'm like, man, like she's front and center in this movie, and they're like not giving her good material to work with. And then on top of that, the line delivery. I'm like, oof. And then there was one point at the end of the movie when a lot of things are going down, and they need to hurry up and after they already used the gun from Encom to send Ares to the older system, then Athena goes and cuts the gun in half. And so then you're like, oh well, how is this guy gonna get back? And then because the 21 minutes go run out, Athena loses her gun and drops it. There's one point where the in the movie, the characters that work at Encom are trying to figure out what to do, and she just comes up with a plan. I saw the movie twice, and she says something for like 30 seconds. She's just rattling off, "Oh well, if we do this and then this and this and then we do this and then we connect it and then they'll bring them back." I still don't know what she said. I don't think she knows what she said, but like she says a bunch of things, and that's what they need to do to get him back, and they do it. And both times I shook my head. I was like, okay, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know what they wrote there. I don't know what
Is
she
that what
said
they
there.
did though? I don't even think that's what they did. Like that was the original plan, but then with the laser being cut, he ends up getting brought back from Flynn's old system. So that was like a whole different system. Like they never planned for that.
Right, but it was whatever scene where she says this long thing, like this is what we can do, and it was just like I don't know. like she just thought of that, and it was like mumbo jumbo, and then all the other people were like, yeah, cool, let's do it, and then break, and then like this the next scene, like they're all in agreement with what she just said. I'm like,
Are you
I just
so
thought it was-
are you talking about the part where like Athena's in the cool like flying thing and just like, oh, I gotta like try to find him. Yeah, because that was the whole idea. Like, oh, it's a question of trust. Like, oh, do you like, you're gonna send me in there? Like, oh yeah, and I could just send you. I could just
no,
keep you there
no,
forever. Like,
no. I
is it
think
that scene
no,
or
no.
like
I
just
do think
before when they were bringing it up?
no, no. I
Because
do think it was after he already gets sent into the old grade. Because then Athena attacks them, but at that point it was just Eve and her
yeah.
assistant, the laser guy. And then yeah, she attacks them, and then she's about to kill Eve, but then when the sprinklers go off, she goes crazy because she's never seen water before. And then the last second before she's about to kill Eve, then the 29 minutes goes up, and then she disintegrates, drops her gun. And so it's at that point where it's them two meet up with the other two coworkers, the Hassan Minaj and the other lady.
Oh yeah, no,
And
I
then that's
understood
when,
that.
and then
Yeah,
that's when she just comes up with this
no,
plan.
yeah, the
To
plan
me, it
made
was
sense
mumbo
though.
jumbo, man. It was mumbo
No,
jumbo.
dude, it's established
And
earlier. I'm
please
gonna get really
explain
nerdy.
it. Please
Yeah,
explain
it's
it.
explained. It's explained because the guys who were on the helicopter that ended up beaming her into the Dillinger system, they did it because they mentioned the laser was wirelessly connected into their system. So what they do again, like, hey, we need to stop Julian's grid because if not, he's just gonna keep printing out Athena and it will never stop. So they have to basically try to basically hack into their system using the laser. That's what that whole thing was. And they're like, okay, cool, yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, I wish they would have said that because you said
But
it in
they
like
did.
4 words.
Yeah,
You said it
they
in
did.
4 words.
Yeah, but they wanted to sound, I guess, super techno about it. Like, look, I know what I'm doing because technology words.
Exactly.
Yeah, which
Technology
I don't know,
words.
for me worked. That's fine. Like,
Good.
cool. It's like nod my head. All right, cool, I got that. So, and it also gave what's his name? AJ, Hassan Minaj's character gave AJ something else to do, as opposed to just like,
Yeah, because
hey,
he
I
was
talked to
helping
Julie
acting.
and I got yelled at. And then I looked funny with my cowboy hat, and then they said no, no cowboy hat for you, which I thought was funny also. He's like, "That's cowboy time." They're like, "No, sir, just none of that." And like, he didn't even was not even phased or anything.
No, yeah,
Uh,
I like the representation from both sides of like how hacking works and how it's shown within both grids. I really liked how they did that.
yeah, that was cool. Like this, like the like giant light beam of death just coming through everything. And then I think one of the other things that what I again we talked a little bit about it, but like realistically, I wish we got just a little bit more of was like more of the fight choreography because the fight choreography with using the newer updated Tron tech with a lot of like the light barriers and the light beams was really cool. Like there's one move where I'm pretty sure Ares like used the staff and then kicked off the like the light beam of the staff to go over. I was like, man, that's cool. Like give me more of that. And then you have more dual wielding with the different data discs. And then I don't know about you, Anthony, but did you get like since Ares or the Master Control data discs is more of a data triangle? Did you get
Mm-hmm.
like crawl vibes every time they threw it? I don't know. That was just me.
Roll?
Yeah, remember the old movie with the glaive? I don't know if you ever saw that movie.
What's it
Like
called? Maybe.
it was called Crawl, and it's basically like a 5-star like glaive that this guy threw, and it was like a weird fantasy alien movie. You know what?
Maybe
Like
not.
yeah,
Maybe if I
Tron.
see pictures of it, I might recognize it, but right at the moment I don't.
Yeah.
I
So
don't
as a side note,
remember that.
everybody, you should watch Crawl. It's a movie from 1983. Really, that'll probably be next week's episode. Why not? Let's go watch it. But it's free. It's
I
like
like
a
the 80s.
sci-fi. It's yeah, exactly. Like I like the 80s. Yeah. But and then sorry, the whole bit he's like cool, the 80s. I was like I remember it's like that kid from Grown Ups too. It's like the 80s. That was like 70 years ago. But anyway, watch that movie when you know what I'm talking about, because then you'll watch Ready Player One and you go, oh, that's where that thing's from. But anyway, there's actually some surprisingly cool people in that movie. Yeah, give that a shot. But anyway, throwing stuff is always cool. They could have thrown more, especially when they did the infiltration part, and they were doing all the fighting, all the NCOM security programs. Like, give me more of that, and then
Yeah, and then the last fight scene between Ares and
and
Athena
Athena, yeah.
was cool because it went back to the one of them using the staff, the other one using their disc, and then the staff gets used once again in a cool way, which they only show now for like 2 scenes of the movie. It's like I wish they had more scenes of using like the light from the staffs as like part of the combat because they did that. They would kind of like spin it around them, and I think Ares jumped off of like the light that was in the air to like attack. It was really cool.
Yeah. So yeah, give us more of that. Should we ever, by some, distant miracle or anything, we get someone decides, hey, let's put more money into this franchise, just not release it
Another
in November or
15
something.
years.
Yeah, maybe
Another
15 years
15
later,
years.
a new generation will like it.
Yeah, or it'll be like, it'll end up becoming more of a cult classic. So, but yeah, with that being said, that's kind of because we have to talk about the elephant in the room because like the box office stuff is pretty dire, but people who saw the movie found it genuinely entertaining. Like this isn't, um Citizen Kane here, but like to Anthony's point, like cool visuals, music's cool, bare bones story to kind of give us some cool visuals, and that's kind of really, what it's there for. But who knows what if, there's other factors that contributed to it not making as much money. Was it some other stuff outside of Disney's control? But it goes to show you that right now, yeah, it's not doing so hot money wise, but at least the studio itself is making money. Just ask them how much money they made off of Lilo and Stitch. The answer is a lot.
They made all the money.
It was
Yeah.
they made like what 1.1, I think 1.2, but then they lost a good amount of money on like 4 or 5 other movies. So it's
Like
almost
what
been
purportedly like Fantastic Four. What was the other one? Because
Thunderbolts.
they came out with quite a few. Like
Thunderbolts.
Captain America.
It would all be fine once Avatar comes out. That's pretty much the answer.
yeah,
Yeah.
here. Oh,
It'll
and
even
then
And
Yeah,
and
then-
Zootopia 2 is coming out.
and
so
Zootopia 2. Yeah,
Yeah.
so they look at there's Zootopia 2 and oh my gosh, Fire and Ash. They're just gonna be like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, we'll recoup this. It'll be fine. And then next year they have a lot of big stuff coming out
yeah,
next
they
year.
have more next year.
They got yet another Toy Story. I'm pretty sure Freakier Friday made money. Surprisingly, I watched it, and the theater was pretty out there, but it wasn't like this big old blockbuster. But
Yeah, but
I
it
know
didn't
it
cost that
made
much
money.
either. So
True,
they
but
gotta make more movies like that. Like make $20-30 million movies, and that way, if you can make
yeah, man, it only made
60 to 100,
45.
then you make money out of
Yeah,
it. Like,
it was only it cost them 45 million to make, and I did the research now, and it made them about 143 million. So
there you go. Like, so they
there you
made
go.
money on it.
They made money.
Like of course they didn't make probably a $500
Gangbusters
million
money. Yeah.
profit, but at least they made a profit. Better than going the other way around and losing like hundreds of millions of dollars when something doesn't do well.
Yeah. But hey,
But,
who goes from there? But overall, I mean, in the end, I enjoyed it. Like it was a fun time. Like I went in there with like kind of lowered expectation just because I'm like, okay, well, it's like like the Jared Leto factor, but also I'm like, all right, I'm here for the Nine Inch Nails and the visuals, and that at least didn't disappoint. There were a
Yeah.
couple of nice surprises. Like there were a lot of interesting Easter eggs um in the movie that I found that was pretty like really really cool. Um, there were some like references to like the Dumont shipping from Tron Legacy. Man, like there were like at least for what it's worth, it showed that they cared about the Tron franchise. It wasn't just like okay, we're just gonna do whatever. Like it felt um like the care
Yes and
was
no.
there. It wasn't just yeah, exactly. You had
yes and no.
the binary bits that was there.
Yes. No,
No,
I'm
no,
saying
no, no,
I'm
no.
saying yes and no that they that they cared for it.
In the case of there's not a lot of like a lot of I guess like Tron Legacy stuff that you wanted to see in there.
Well, the movie's called Tron, and Tron's not in the movie. That's one
Tron
thing.
is not
Yeah,
in the
where's
movie.
Tron?
Where is Tron?
Like I think it.
Tron's still in the sea of simulation. That's he's still stuck
I
there.
think it would have been funny and maybe kind of cool if there was a Tron, but like a bad Tron because it was Dillinger's version, and that was so it was like Tron was probably part of Ares' crew in Dillinger's company's version of the grid, but they didn't do that. So, and then the ending, we didn't talk about the ending, right?
No, we didn't. Again, that's honestly that's kind of like the reason. Like, come on, like give me another one. Come on, I
I know,
want
it's like-
Sark to come back.
They're
Come
doing
on.
that, but it's like I honestly don't know if they're gonna do another one. And that's
No.
why it kind of frustrates me a little more where they have that little seed of like they show a postcard and kind of show something about Korra and Sam Flynn as if like, hey, in the next one we might talk about this. It's like, no,
Maybe.
you should have done that for this one. Why would you wait for it? But yeah,
Yeah, they might not like.
missed opportunities.
Yeah, it's like maybe they might not want to, like or like. Let me see. What was the other thing? No, there were a lot of like small little like details I remember seeing, and damn, I can't for the life of me remember them now. But like a lot of the stuff was like in the grid, like inside each of the grids, like the different like the slight different changes, like to the recognizers, the like the office that was like Kevin Flynn's like sort of like museum office. It was apparently donated by Sam Flynn. So like, hey, like, here's a great way to remember him. But you had like some other like references to space paranoids. You had the
Well, yeah,
the guy.
they were remaking it or doing like an eighth iteration of it or something like that.
Yeah, and like the guy in charge of the server was playing a version of it, like the game that Kevin was playing in the original. To me, it felt like there were a lot of more callbacks to the original than Legacy, which I know irks Anthony, but at
No,
least
not
it
really.
felt that like
Not really. And but the thing is, it makes sense too because whatever you think about Jared Leto, like apparently a lot of the reason this movie even got made was because of him, and he wanted to make it, and that's why he's in it. And he really likes the first movie. Like it's one of his favorite movies. So that's probably why they added that whole sequence of going into the older version. So, a lot of
so
that
yeah,
could be
we
attributed
got that
to
at
him.
least.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we got that at least. But who knows? It might do well. It might do well on streaming, and then we get like another animated show that
That's
Disney
season 2
that
of the show.
yeah, that hopefully Uprising won't get canceled because Disney XD was a thing before Disney Plus. Oh boy. But yeah, that's anyone else any lasting thoughts of just like meh of anything else that they wanted to add?
No, I don't think I have anything else left to say.
Other than I
hope
want a
we
light
don't
cycle.
have to wait too long, but I don't have any high hopes for another one.
I guess if more people ride the ride, then they'll be like, hey, you know what? People like this. Let's try to do this better. Like if the lines and light cycle run keep like being over 2 hours, then like, maybe that's it. We'll see that. Which as a fun fact, they still have, as of this recording, they changed the lighting for the both rides that are out in the world to match the theming for Tron Ares. So I'm hoping to try to check that out pretty soon. So I'll give you guys a little taste,
And
my take on it.
I think they also are like adding the music from this movie like into the ride.
Yes, it's
right?
in the actual after the launch. You actually they play like an arranged version of the song.
Nice.
Yeah, which is
That's
really
cool.
cool.
I'm glad they did something like that. That's pretty cool.
Corporate synergy. No.
Exactly. But no, yeah, I'm in the same boat where it's like, yeah, it wasn't terrible, it wasn't bad. For me, it was just okay. Like, I mean, I wasn't expecting much either. But yeah, for me, it was, it was a visual feast. It looked really nice. But yeah, I wasn't a fan of the story and some of the acting. But yeah, I mean, I really like that part where Ares stops immediately on the Tron cycle like to not hit the car with the baby in it. It was a cool effect.
And then
That
he
was-
looks
that
like
was
his
kinda
like
funny.
human child. Like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool. I gotta go. Pay no mind to me. And little kid's like, that's cool.
It was like instant brake, and he was going at least like probably like 100 miles an hour or something.
And just whoop. Yeah, and um yeah, no, like there are little details, little sequences are pretty cool. Again, like if you decide to watch it still in theaters, try to watch it in a big screen, a screen with a good hopefully a room with a good sound system. But if anything, just pop on some headphones and you know, not pop into the headphones, but unless you're reading closed captions. But no, just get in the room, absorb the sound and the visual feast, like Anthony said, and just kind of enjoy it for what it is, really. But you might have a pretty comfy theater, but who knows? Word of mouth tried, I suppose, but it's already been almost a month since the movie came out. So and this coming like holiday season is pretty stacked when it comes to movies. In fact, there's a lot of little movies that a lot of little like dramas and other things that have come out. And so I figure for next week's episode, we can probably talk about any one of those that either of us might have seen. I know because I just saw the Bruce Springsteen biopic. Anthony said he saw the movie with Julia Roberts and Io Edeberry. There's a couple other stuff out there, like in terms of horror. There's like Good Boy, Black Phone 2. So, we'll keep it a little bit of a surprise for next time and see what we thought about those individual things. And I'll say it right now. We'll do our best to not spoil any of those movies. But, tune in until next time. Thanks so much for listening to it. Our thoughts on Tron Ares. We now have the entire, 3 movies of Tron that are out here, which personally I'm grateful that we have. But who knows? Hopefully we don't have to wait too long and not have to like introduce Tron to our kids with another movie if it ever comes out. Hopefully much
Without
sooner than
Tron
that.
in it.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Bruce Boxleitner, he's getting up there, but he can still do voice stuff. We'll see. But until everybody next time, catch you guys later. Thank you for tuning in.
Later.
End of line.